Look at him go. Oh, hey there. How y'all doing today? I'm just over here playing with my toys, giving myself a little inspiration for my next toy project. Guess what it is? That's right, you got it. I'm making a wind-up toy. And here's the sculpt I just finished of that wind-up toy. I call it Happy Jack. Get it? Because it's a jack-o'-lantern with a happy little jackalope popping out the top. So the way I made this was that I found these little wind-up blanks and I dismantled one so that I could sculpt over it with some oil-based clay. And I'm excited about this guy. I think this is going to make a really fun vinyl toy that maybe I'll have finished in time for Summerween next year, since I missed Halloween. You can see on the side here, I marked the area where the winder sticks out, and I just made sure to account for shrinkage by keeping the sculpt somewhat thick around the plastic blank, which you can't see anymore because I went ahead and covered the bottom by building up this molding sprue, because that's what we're doing today. We're molding this with silicone so that we can eventually pour up our wax prototype. And you can see I gave a slight backwards tilt to the sprue because I want to eliminate all possible undercuts, since this will be slush cast. I don't want to capture any air bubbles in the final piece. And the front side of this piece is where I have the highest risk of a possible tiny undercut. So that's why it's leaning backwards just a tad. If it was leaning forwards, we might trap, some of those air bubbles on the final castings. So by leaning it backwards on the sprue, we're allowing the air in the mold to more easily escape as the material that's poured into the mold rises. That makes sense? This is just basic undercut avoidance practice you want to follow when you're making toys that will be slush cast. Which if you're making soft vinyl toys like we are, slush cast is how it's done. So now we need to hot glue our mold walls together, and my hot glue guns, they're all just embarrassing, falling apart. I mean, God, this one doesn't even have a stand on anymore. Broke off a long time ago. These are probably over 20 years old. I don't know why I have those. So yeah, time to treat myself to a new glue gun. And look at this cutie. Woo-wee. Look at it. It's got this, it's pretty blue, and it's got a stand that works and opens up, and it's got like a low watt and a high watt, low power, high power. That's great. So I'm gonna cut a little piece of foam core here for a base, and this is, you can use anything, any kind of rigid, firm, surface that's easily cut. You can use some mat board, but I'm just using some foam core here. A little bit of super glue to keep it stuck on there. And we're using 6mm clear acetate sheet. If you're doing anything bigger than what we're doing today, you might want to go with a thicker acetate, but 6mm will be plenty thick enough for this little guy. And let's talk about what kind of mold we're making today. This is going to be a very simple cut mold. Typically, a cut mold is made by constructing 4 walls around what you want to mold and then pouring silicone into it, letting it cure, and then cutting it open with an X-Acto knife afterwards to make your part line in this zigzag kind of fashion. It's pretty much the simplest and easiest way you can make a silicone mold. And if you do it right, your part lines will be hardly noticeable and easy to clean up. Now, I feel like it's important to not get too rigid with how you do things. If you're used to doing things one way, but you see another way that might possibly be better, go for it. Try something different. And that's what we're doing today. In the past, I've always made my silicone cut molds by hot gluing foam core together to make a wall with 4 sides. They're great for big toys, easy to construct, but very sturdy. And that's been my primary way of mold making for the past 10 years. Either that, or if the sculpt was small enough, I'd flip over a small paper cup, cut the top out, and hot glue it down to the base. Fill it up with silicone, boom, done. But the piece that we're molding today is this in-between size. It's not quite big enough to warrant me constructing 4 walls, but it's also not small enough to fit in a paper cup. So I tried out this rolled up plastic sheet that I taped up with Scotch tape, hot glued it to the base, easy peasy. I like it. And you might recognize from our previous episode on sculpting small, it's Kahar. I figured we should mold him today as well. Whenever I'm having a molding day, I like to line up some extra pieces I have lying around just in case I have extra silicone left over. But the primary focus is Happy Jack, and he's ready for his spa treatment. So we got the Mold Max 30, part A, part B. We got a cup, mixing stick, some isopropyl alcohol, my fancy little lid opener to make it easier. And this is 100A to 10B by weight, so we are going to need a gram scale. We're going to tare the weight of the cup so that we're not adding that to the weight. And then we're going to fill this up with silicone. Now, I'm going to empty out the rest of this container because I think I've got just enough to probably do what I want to do today. Maybe not even quite. It ended up being 36.6 ounces. So we're going to do some math here. You probably don't have to do this if you're doing what I'm doing, because the part B and the part A is going to be equal if you're using up all of it. But just for the sake of, in case you were trying to get an exact number, this is how you do it. We took 10% of 36.6, right, which is 3.66. We're going to add those numbers together so that we can get the final number, which is 40 ounces, 40.26 ounces, right? So around 40.2, 40.3 is what we want the final number to be on that scale when we're pouring in our catalyst here. And like I said, I probably didn't have to do all that math because I've got whatever is in that cup is going to be just the right amount for what was in the dregs of the other one. But it's never, you're never too old to practice math. We're just going to mix the heck out of this stuff. You really want to mix. The reason I love Mold Max 30 is because it's got such a long pot life. It's got like a pot life of 45 minutes. So you got like a good 30 minutes of mixing and pouring and vacuum degassing that needs to be done. And I like to have plenty of room. I don't want to rush. So I'm going to really scrape the sides down, get it all mixed up really well. I want to make sure it's totally pink all the way through. If there's a little bit of white on the sides of the cup, that's okay, but I'm trying to get everything as uniform as possible. And here's my vacuum chamber. I've got lots of stickers that people have given me over the years. This is a Robinair Vacuum Master with a pipe that runs out for the exhaust. It's a 2-stage vacuum pump, 8 CFM. Pretty much for our purposes today, it's good. Now, I'm going to need to dump off some of this into another cup because you'll notice when we start to vacuum this, we pull a vacuum on this, all the air bubbles are going to want to rise up to the surface and they're going to pull that silicone with it. And so it's going to overflow if your cup is too filled up. And you might think that half filled is fine, but we just did a whole lot of mixing. So there's a lot of air bubbles in there. So I'm going to, and that might not even be a big enough cup, but that's why I got this pail in there so that any excess that goes out will be caught. Because if you don't, that's where it goes. And that's never coming out. I mean, it could if I really tried, but why bother? All right, so put our lid on. We're going to flip the vacuum down so that it pulls the vacuum. And the vacuum pump valve is tightened on. And we got the power button. We just flipped on. There's the exhaust. It's doing its work. And it's starting to rise. The creeping bubble yum slime of doom. Yum, 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 yum. It's always fun watching this part. I love this part. I love it. I love this part. And then it collapses. And then the air goes, once it's collapsed, you got to count. Count to like 80. And then after that, you can hold it and unscrew it and turn the power off and vent it. And that's how you do it. And there we go. And now we're going to pop the lid off and we're going to do the next one. And we vacuum. We tighten the valve back on there so that it can suck that air through the vacuum pump and do its work. The creeping slime of doom returns once again. Never gets old. I love it. Oh, that one went over. That one made it out. That one made it. See, that's why we got a pail. That's why we got something to catch this. Yeah, what a mess. And you saw how much space I had in that cup. You'd think that it would have been plenty. And it wasn't quite big enough. I needed a bigger cup. So This is where the alcohol comes in handy. I can, you know, just sort of clean off things with the alcohol. The alcohol cleans off the silicone really easy without having to change out your gloves every single time you get sticky on something. And let the air back in so we can pull the top off. And I'm going to do a high pour because I see that there was a lot of air bubbles in that. Otherwise, that's why it expanded so much. There was just so much air bubbles. And just to make sure I get them all out, I'm doing a high pour. What this is doing is that skinny little strand, there's like a ribbon, there's like a little thin point right there in the middle where the air bubbles can naturally pop by doing that. And this is the order we're going to do it in. Most important is Happy Jack. I want to make sure I've got enough for that. And then I'll do Kahar, and then I've got some little rough sculpts in the back that we can do if we have time, or if we have enough material. When you pour this, you want to just kind of pick a spot and just stay there and just try and pour and keep it steady, you know, so that everything rises naturally and the air bubbles kind of like can flow out easily. If you just start moving the silicone all around and pouring all over the place, you might trap air bubbles. And this stuff is thick. And we're nearing the end of our pot life because I spent all this time trying to videotape this for you so that you could see it. It takes a lot more time than it looks like. So it's starting to thicken up on me, and you can see those little air bubbles starting to form there. I got to kind of tap them out of the way. And yeah, it's really starting to thicken up on me now. So, but that's that. That's all we got. We got 4. So not bad. And we got to wait 24 hours, so let's take a walk with the doggies while we wait for that silicone to cure and do its thing. Don't want to mess with it for a full day. So I'm just going to take it easy for the rest of the day. And it is a beautiful day for this walk. I mean, it's just a beautiful fall day. The leaves are all changing. It's just, got to get out and smell that fresh air while you can, you know. And while I was walking, I came upon our old hickory tree. And I found some hickory nuts. And I took a few. These take a lot of work. I'm going to show you. You got to crack them open with a hammer. And then once you've done that, the work is not over. You've got to, these things do not want to be pulled from their shell. I'll tell you that right now. You got to get in there. This is just a little, like, you know, sunglasses screwdriver that I'm using. But if you have a nut pick, even better. But little by little, you can get the pieces out. You know, it takes a while. But I'll tell you what, it's really worth it. These hickory nuts, man, they taste so good. They have it's like a banana pecan flavor. It's like a subtle sweet banana fruitiness, but like pecan meets walnut. I don't know. It's very unique, and they taste really good in pancakes. So I only got just enough to do one pancake. So that's what we're doing. But it's going to be a tasty pancake. And this is actually made with oat flour. So if you were gluten free, you could partake in this. I like me some good hearty oat pancakes. And we're going to try a bite of this. Nice. This is looking good, smelling good. Oh man, here we go. Here we go. All right. Oh yeah, that's good. That's gonna be. Oh yeah. You know what this really needs? It needs some syrup. Here we go. That's what it needs. It needs some syrup on it. Yeah, just gonna saturate that. Yes. And we're gonna take another bite of that. You got if you that's good. All right, so we're back, and it's been a full 24 hours, and the silicone's hard, and it is ready to be taken apart. Here's a little trick that my buddy Dave taught me. If you spray hot glue with alcohol and let it soak on there for a few minutes, it peels right up. How about that? Isn't that cool? I wish I had known this little trick a lot sooner in life. But look at that. Just poop, pops right off, man. Isn't that cool? Just some isopropyl alcohol. And we just peel that acetate away. And now we just got to slice open that Scotch tape, unroll the clear sheet, and pull out our silicone mold. And we're going to just trim off that flashing just to give it a nice clean bottom. Yeah. There we go. All right. And now see, now I made the mistake of using a paint marker. I don't know why I used a paint marker on these. It's because the foam core I was using was black. But I should have used, see, if I'd used a Sharpie like I did on this one, it shows up. It translates, so you'll know where your part line needs to start. But on this one, I didn't use a Sharpie. So I'm just gonna have to go in blind. But it's not my first rodeo. I think I can do this. So we're going in a zigzag fashion. I'm not cutting all the way through, I'm just starting it off. And then as I get closer, I'm being a little more careful. But essentially what I'm doing here is by making these zigzags, I'm creating keys, right? So they lock in together. If I just cut straight down, you know, it's not going to hold its shape. If I wanted to do like multiple pulls, you know, if I wanted to get like, you know, a few wax protos out of this, I want to keep that seam tight. So I'm going to do a little zigzag way. Now these are some surgical forceps I'm using. This was a old trick my friend Rachel taught me a while back. Really helps to give your fingers a break from opening that up. Because believe it or not, this silicone really has a pull. When you're pulling it open, it's kind of hard to pull apart. So these forceps just kind of hold things open for you so that you can work a little bit more seamlessly. Get it? Because we're trying to keep it from having a seam. So we're going to go on the other side now. Same thing. And this is a fun part. This is a little fun part of the process because it's kind of like opening a Christmas present. You know, I mean, you know, we know what's inside, right? I put. It's like a present that I boxed up that I'm now opening, but it's still exciting because I'm really excited about this toy, and I'm excited to see if the mold turned out well. Because, you know, every once in a while, you know, if you didn't get a good vacuum, or you didn't do something quite right, you know, a mold can mess up on you, you know, and that's always kind of sad. But you just, if it does happen, if a mold doesn't turn out good the first time, you just get back up on that horse and try again, you know, don't give up. And now we're going to pull this piece out. It's looking good. It's looking good. I'm not seeing any obvious air pockets or flimsy spots. It's all pretty solid. And the head didn't quite want to come out there, which lets me know that I need to take that seam on down some more. I don't usually like to cut it all the way open because it kind of helps keep the part line more together if you leave a little bit of the mold intact down there at the bottom to kind of hold everything in place. But this does need to come down some more because I don't want those ears to get trapped and broken off whenever because, you know, wax is kind of, it's not, the kind of wax I'm going to be using isn't super strong. So it's not brittle per se, but it's wax, right? So the ears could pop off if I don't have a part line going down past that point. And every part line is different, right? Depending on your sculpt, you might have a more complicated part line that you have to cut. This one's pretty straightforward. just kind of going along the ears is going to be the best method here. And then kind of just like stop there at the top of the ear. Now over here on this side, I'm imagining what's going to happen when I peel this off. You see that little spot right there, that little undercut that could pull that ear on the left there? That could break off that ear if that goes unchecked. So I can already tell that if I just made a little bit of slice, if I did just a little surgical slice right there on that inner part of that ear right there, just a little boop. Now, what that's going to do is when I try to peel this out, it's going to pop, that ear is going to pop out a lot easier on that side and less likely to snap off. So little things like that, you just got to kind of imagine in reverse when you're cutting your lines, making your own cut molds. Here's another example we're going to do. This is Kahar's bottom. So this is his feet and wings that we're cutting out here. That's what this mold is. And I have a sneaking suspicion that we will need to employ a creative little part line at the bottom of this one as well, because his flippers kind of stick out a little bit. And we don't want those to break off in the mold. So when we're cutting our line, see, look at that. It broke off. So that lets me know I need to take that part line down further. So I'm going to just cut right along the side of that foot and then down up to the toe so that it pops out really easily. I'm going to do that on the other side too. I'm just holding that open and just going to right down there to the toe. There we go. And that's going to make that pulling that wax out a lot easier. And I know this looks rough, but believe it or not, this is going to create the best seam lines you've ever seen on a wax prototype. These cut molds, without fail, never do me wrong. So we got a Happy Jack mold, we got our Kahar molds, and we got a bonus little mold of a toad that I maybe will show you later. So there you have it. Now you know how I like to make my prototype molds. And in the next episode, we're going to pour some wax into those molds so that we can make ourselves the actual wax prototype. And if you want to see that, give me a little thumbs up and subscribe, and you'll get notified when that next video drops. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to take some time to be a kid again.